Hey skiers, it's Bob from Skiessentials.com.
And I'm Allie.
Allie and I are here with our first of the women's 2023 comparison videos. We decided to start with that 88 to 92. We actually have 88 to 94, as well as an honorable mention that we had to give back to the rep at 86. So really 86 to 94 is what comprises this. And Allie, like from a customer service standpoint, this is really kind of the meat and potatoes of women's skis, right?
Yeah, it definitely is. This is the sellable category for people that are only looking for that one ski. That's really going to take them all around the mountain, from the groom trails to a little bit in the woods and bumps and just a little bit of powder. It's going to get you all of those things.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of good stuff in this category. You know, when you get into that wider range, then you're a little bit more soft snow oriented. And then, you know, 80s and below, then we're looking more front side. But definitely that versatility really shines through in this grouping.
What I really love about this grouping also is that it also has a wide range of ability levels.
Yep.
So you're not just looking at beginner skis or advanced skis. There's something for just about everyone on this wall.
Yeah, well, let's start it off. Allie, why don't you grab that Armada there. This is the Reliance 92 Ti. I'll take one of those. Unchanged from last year, still has this nice poplar wood core, 2 sheets of metal. That top layer is the articulated Titanal banding. So they kind of take slits out of the metal and then put in kind of an elastomer material. Really like deadens the vibrations of this one. Also allows it to twist without losing any of the stability. So one of the more powerful skis on this wall due to the fact that it has metal. So, you know, definitely that higher end skier and just a whole lot of fun.
What I really like about the Armada ski is that they're really pushing the envelope of the Armada brand with this Reliance ski. They're taking their normally free ride feel or park, you know, brand, and they're making it more front side and more approachable to a wide range of skiers. This was one of my favorite skis to get on. It really was a strong, powerful ski, but with that poplar core, it reduced that weight and the fatigue under your legs. You could hold an edge for, you know, just about the length of the day. You're not going to be too exhausted, but you're going to be able to power through on the icy terrain.
Yeah, and a really nice high quality feel, you know, like that's not something that Armada's typically known for, but it definitely like falls right in line with what Stockli's putting out and some of these other high-end brands in terms of just its overall nature and quiet, you know, vibration absorption. They're really great skis.
It's a very smooth ride, and if you get a chance, I recommend trying it because you'll be very shocked by the Armada label and brand on it, but you're going to get what you want from a lot of the other brands as well.
Yeah, nice like free ride tip shape, but then a little bit more business-like underfoot and through the tail. So great carving ski for sure. And kind of go a little bit opposite with this next one in terms of the weight, especially. This is the Atomic Maven 93C. Definitely has that lighter weight feel to it. Very thin in the profile. Allie and I were just talking about this before we started, that there's just a big variance in kind of core thickness profiles these days, or at least we've been noticing it more. And this falls on that thin side. So they're able to get away with making a really light and maneuverable ski while keeping it pretty stiff and stable. So pretty light wood core, but then adding vertically placed carbon stringers to this thing, you know, that adds the stiffness, but then the lightweight and even the Horizon Tech and the tips make this thing a good floater. So super maneuverable option on this wall.
Again, Atomic did something that wasn't in their brand norm. You know, they're used to having backcountry skis and race skis, but this really bridged the gap between those two areas and created a much more approachable ski. Even with it not having metal, it still holds a nice edge when you get out there in the terrain, but it's definitely a more approachable ski for that lower end skier that's looking for something that they can be comfortable on all day, not be fatigued in their legs. And then also you can throw skin on this if you want to go uphill. It's definitely light enough that it could be used as your uphill and downhill ski.
Yeah, and that's kind of a new thing these years, is just kind of this 50-50 mode where you want to use something for both inbounds, out of bounds, resort, backcountry. This is the 163 or 165. 164. Hit it right in the middle. Just under 1,500 grams. So it is pretty light. And like Ali was saying, totally skin and uphill warranted. Especially for the weight. And then you're going to get really good flotation. For a 93, having this lightweight and that Horizon Tech in the tips, it's a pretty good floater and a whole lot of fun.
I think specifically for a lightweight skier, this would be a great option.
Yeah.
Just something that they can really get on and power through and really move the ski around the way they want instead of being skied by the ski.
Yeah, and it's again a pretty good contrast to the next one in terms of like the Maven being more directional, a little bit more of a precision instrument. This thing, the Black Crow's Captis Birdie, certainly falls more on the playful side of the spectrum. And we had our friend Laura, who is a former racer, ski on this during our Black Crow's Media Day, and she looked awesome on this thing.
She did.
It definitely has that twin tip style. I wouldn't go so far as to call it a freestyle specific twin tip, but definitely has that turned up tail that makes it just a lot of fun in that multi-directional category. But pretty simple, poplar wood core, fiberglass, really consistent from tip to tail. It is just slightly heavier than what we saw on that Atomic, 15, almost 1,600 grams. So another 100 plus grams in this thing. Definitely makes it feel more sturdy, but also still really snappy like that Atomic.
Black Crowes definitely has the fun top sheet that a lot of people are looking for, and this isn't that price break where you're not breaking the bank, but you're definitely getting some quality out of the ski. Again, to reiterate what Bob was saying about the directional tail, this tail is going to give you a little bit more play at the end of your turn. So if you're someone that likes to pop in the woods or hit the moguls or bumps, follow your children, this might be more of a fun option than something that has a stiffer tail, just because it's going to give you that option. But it also is stiff enough through the ski that if you are just a frontside carver, you're still going to have a great time on these.
Yeah, very well rounded. I think it's definitely one of the more playful. I think when we get to Liberty here and the Rossignol Blackops, we'll see some more playful skis, but definitely this Black Crowes has that more playful and fun-loving factor versus some of these other ones, especially with the metal and more directional styles. But, definitely one of the better, fun free ride all mountain skis up here for sure. And like Ali was saying, a little bit more of that price point. We're seeing these prices kind of hike up like everything in our lives, but it definitely falls on the lower end of Black Crow's spectrum still.
Yeah, it's definitely something that if people are really interested in Black Crowes, it is an option that won't break the bank. But again, to reiterate how amazingly fun it can be out there, and it's a little bit more playful than a lot of the skis we're talking about. And a lot of times we're talking with that turned up tail, you get to that wider width. So it's really nice to see a ski in this narrow width that also has that playful tail.
Yeah, like for us here in Vermont, I think that's totally useful.
Yeah.
What would an 88 millimeter women's comparison video be without a black pearl?
Got to have the black pearl in the lineup. This ski has been #1 in leading the women's ski board for a lot of years. It's got a lot of competition coming out, and people are definitely stepping up to the plate with the black pearl. But the tried and true black pearl remains the same. Yeah,
a little bit of metal underfoot for grip and stability, but other than that, we're talking about a pretty simple wood core and a directional shape. Also interesting that, the next ski up, we have that Sheeva. So Blizzard is making 2 skis in this lineup. One of them is a lot more free ride oriented, and this one is more on trail. So a little bit narrower, a little bit more directional, but just does everything well, doesn't it?
It really does. I would put just about anybody on this ski, from a grandmother to a teenager to a racer. I've seen some ex-racers get on the ski and have no problem flexing the ski and getting on edge and holding that edge and having just a blast. Depending on what size you can get a shorter radius and kind of play with like a slalom ski. But for that general lady skier out there looking for a ski that can take them every day and be confident out there, this is still a great option.
Yeah, and the addition of that True Blend wood core 2 years ago, I think now, really just kind of took this ski to the next level in terms of it being, you know, able to make a variety of different turn shapes and styles. And I think the engineers at Blizzard have done a great job improving this thing, even though it's remained that same ski in the same category. But
they just keep making it lighter and keep making it just as powerful.
Yeah, which is definitely a recurring theme that we'll talk about for some of these other skis as well. And yeah, like, you know, like we were saying, that Sheeva definitely takes that Blizzard to the next level in terms of playfulness. A little bit more of that turned up tail like we saw with Captis, and then what we'll see going forward with Genesis. But Sheeva uses metal a little bit differently than Black Pearl. So Black Pearl is really right underfoot, but Sheeva takes this DRT metal laminate and extends it up to the tips and then repeats that process through the tail. So there's more metal in this thing, but they balance it with that more playful shape and a wider width. So it's an interesting kind of way of going about building these skis. If I could have that other Sheeva, where they're, you know, putting material in one way and then increasing kind of that playful shape in another. We always like to note that the metal ends where the rocker begins, which is a really interesting way of thinking about where the playfulness in the ski lies. So metal ends here, rocker begins there. So making this tail more playful, both from a shaping and a construction perspective, I think just makes a whole lot of sense. But if someone's looking for that Black Pearl, you know, they either like Blizzard skis or are looking in that low to mid 90s and want the confidence of metal but a more playful personality, you know, we point them to the Sheeva 7 days a week.
I find the Sheeva and the Black Pearl to be very different, actually, and very different skiers. I find that the Sheeva it's more approachable for that person that likes to kind of wiggle their tails and have a little bit more fun in the woods and bumps, like I keep talking about that turned up tail. But it is definitely a more aggressive ski than the Black Pearl, just because of that metal underfoot. You're going to get that stability when you really need to, you know, put on that turn. But it's also going to carry you through the crud, which is what I really appreciate about the Sheeva, is that on that day when you get like 2 to 3 inches where you're pushing it off, by noon, you're literally just skiing through some small piles of snow. This is going to go through it in a breeze. That tip turn is going to go right over it, and that metal, you're not going to even feel the vibrations on your leg. You're going to just get smoothly through it. And it's, you know, I don't like to use the word burly when I talk about women's skis because it seems like it's a scary word. But when you want the confidence under your feet, the Sheeva is going to give you that confidence.
Yeah, and definitely I would put it on the burly side of the spectrum, at least on this wall. I mean, it definitely has, you know, that nice flex. It's pretty even, but underfoot, I mean, this is a very, very stable ski. You can definitely feel that grip kind of hook up throughout the turn with that metal. You know, full width underfoot really makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, geared a little bit more advanced than the Black Pearl.
Yep. And I would put this next one in that category too. This is a Dynastar E-Pro 90. They kind of changed up. They were M-Pro 90W last year and changed the name to the E-Pro. But very, very similar in terms of the front of the ski's metal application. So we have a full width metal underfoot here, extending just like that Sheeva into a central spine in the forebody, but then they mix it up in the tail. So they keep it wide. It does end similar with that where the rocker begins, but just kind of points out a little bit wider here. So more energy and stiffness in the tail of this Dynastar than in Sheeva, without making it like, you know, 100% rock solid. You know, still has that playful nature to it. But one of the bigger differences that we've noticed with these Dynastars, and we can kind of segue into the Elan after this, is in the shovel shape and in the rocker. So much longer, straighter tip shape in this ski, and that goes along with a more dramatic rocker profile. So when we put them together, we just see a whole lot of splay in the front of the ski. Like this distance is just, I mean, it's pretty massive. You know, this thing is going to stay up and rise on top of fresh snow. Definitely a lot of free ride influence in this tip shape here. And then just the fact that it's a little bit straighter just makes it kind of cut through the snow and allow the skier to dictate the shape and duration of the turn. But great skis from Dynastar. I feel like these are overlooked.
I was gonna say, that was the first thing I was gonna say, is that, you know, Dynastar started pushing or coming out with these a couple years ago, and they really have been overlooked just because I think people didn't get on them enough to really describe the benefits of them. And for someone that's really primarily concerned with going over crud or, you know, hitting the bumps in a little bit of powder, this is an amazing ski that's going to allow you to just breeze right over it, but you're going to still have that control in the tail. So with the Sheeva, which is a little bit different, you can release those tails a little easier. This is going to help you hold that edge grip. So if you're really carving that turn and that control, you're going to have it throughout the turn, which is very different than the Sheeva. And there's people that really like that control from start to end. It's going to ski just a little bit shorter just because that tip shovel, but because of the stiffness and the metal underfoot, I actually don't think it would actually physically ski shorter. It's just the edge is a little bit shorter.
Yeah, it is. It's not like 1,000% intuitive like Black Pearl is. I think you get on that and it's kind of love at first turn. This might take a half a run. And that might be one of the reasons it's overlooked. It's also just like, you know, I don't want to harp on graphics too much, but it's not the most eye-catching ski on the wall. But some people really like that. But you know, it just also might prohibit some people from getting on it that it might be the best ski for them.
I also find it's like very different than all the skis up here. You know, it has similarities, but it also is one of the only ones that's really pushing a difference with this big shovel, the lightweight tip, and a little bit more stability in the tail. I haven't seen that from any of the other brands. Yeah.
Grab that Elan for me. I'm going to leave this one up here for just a sec. And just a really interesting kind of difference in terms of the tip shape. I mean, this one is just a stark difference in terms of the spoony, wide, you know, instant hookup of this Elan Ripstick 88 versus this of the Dynastar with just more lag. And you can't really see it out there, but from Ali and my perspective, this Dynastar curves back in while the Elan curves out. So that's a difference of the camber and rocker profile. That's going to make this Elan, as soon as you put it up on edge, you know, you're using the leverage of the width of the shovel as well as the energy built into the camber to get this thing to hook into the turn quickly, whereas you do see the lag in this Dynastar. So it's just kind of an interesting perspective kind of from our end. You know, it won't show up so well on the camera, but you can definitely see the difference in the rocker profile and then just the overall tip shape. When you kind of put them together, you can see the Elan sticking out a lot further in the shovel and just having a totally different shape. So very interesting differences, you know, when we're looking at these skis that are really in the same category. You know, like anyone could ski that, the Elan or the Dynastar, and be totally happy, but they're just very different even within their own category.
And if you're ever questioning like what the ski is for you, I recommend getting out there and trying a couple, because there is really no wrong ski. There's just going to be different skis for different conditions, but there's also going to be different skis for different abilities and the way you ski. I ski sort of like a racer, but I do like a little bit more play in my tail. I like this early edge hook on these skis because I'm used to having that control and that carvability, where it took me a little bit while to get comfortable on the Dynastars. But once I got comfortable on them, I really liked that shovel. It really gave me that confidence in that cruddy days.
I thought you skied great on these.
This is one of my favorites.
I really enjoy following you with the camera when you're on a Ripstick 88. Just about 1,400 grams, so, you know, one of the lightest skis on the wall here, but kind of, you know, talk about how they get the energy and performance out of this one, if you would.
So I was pleasantly surprised when I got on these skis for the first time that there's no metal in it. And it really taught me that I don't need metal in a ski, because a lot of these companies are coming out with new technology and other materials that are doing the same thing without the weight and the exhaustion that I get from the Kenja, which I still love the Kenja for certain days, don't get me wrong. But this I can ski on all day. I feel confident on it. And it's, so what they do is they use the carbon throughout this that dampens the ski and reduces the vibrations, but it also has a left and a right. And so that's to do with their effective edge. So basically when you're on your inside edge, it's gonna have that direct hook into the turn where it's a little shorter on your inside foot. And then if you're on the outside, it's gonna be a little bit longer to keep you in that turn. It's a really unique, it's the only brand that's done a left and a right. And at first I was very against, like, why? Yeah. I don't want to think about a left and right when I'm clicking into my bindings, but once you get used to it, I really appreciate the design in these.
Yeah, and you can feel it, and it's kind of fun to do it the other way just to see what it's like. They actually have a little cheat sheet on the back here. So like this is where the camber is on the inside edge and the rocker on the outside edge. Or I'm sorry, the other way, rocker on the outside, camber on the inside, based on this graphic here. So you can kind of see where they're putting that emphasis and how much of a difference there is in that rocker profile. But I mean, what an absolute treat to ski on these Ripstick 88s, isn't it?
It is.
I mean, their use of carbon is sublime. And
I no longer look at a ski just based on its metal content, and I also now look at a ski that I can ski on, and my mom is confident on this ski, and we ski very differently. She's got a tighter leg stance, and old school technique, but she's loving these 88 waist. She's like super confident in all the terrain that she does out west, in Stowe, wherever she's skiing. She knows that she can do it on these because she's going to get the stability that she grew up on these old metal skis at 180 length when really we should be skiing these shorter lengths. And it's still giving her what she needed from the ski. And I can still get on it. Ex-racers can get on it and really power through the turn and never, lose traction or feel that chatter that you do from some of the lighter skis out there.
No, and I find that these carbon-powered skis, the Elan, the Head, even the Line that we see have, really come a long way over the past few years at, allowing skiers to achieve higher edge angles with carbon instead of metal. So just by being able to do that, you're kind of bending that material and getting the appropriate amount of feedback from it. So it's, just continues forward. I'm glad that they keep coming out with these skis, approachable flex, especially in the shovel, so it does hook up easier. Really encourages that higher edge angle turn, and I think that that's a reason why you see a lot of people skiing on these and skiing well. It's because they're able to manipulate them to what they want to do.
Well, someone told me a fun fact last year is that the carbon reacts to the energy that you put into it.
Right.
So the stronger the skier, the more energy you're going to put into the ski, the more it's going to actually bounce back at you and perform for you. Or if you're a lighter ski with a little less aggressiveness, it's going to do what you want. So it kind of works for everybody because of the way it works, the construction of the ski.
Right. No, I mean they are pretty awesome. We could have included the 94 in here as well, but it's the same construction. So, if you're looking for this, but a little bit wider, that 94 exists as well. Could have fit right in here along with it, but, better to mention it and cover some other stuff too. It's just really that additional 6 millimeters underfoot and throughout the ski that'll give you better soft snow performance, but still the same concepts throughout. And next up we got a Fischer Ranger 90. This is a new ski for this year. They previously were more divided into men's and women's skis. They really just made Ranger series, offered them in 2 different colorways and different lengths. So you can get the other colorway in shorter lengths, but the construction's the same. This is kind of the only time that we'll point out like a unisex nature of a ski, only because even in Fischer's catalog, they're not really designated men's or women's. So, and so these are the same skis that you'll get, just a different colorway. Awesome new ski. They kind of mixed up the Ranger TI and FR series and just came up with Ranger. I'll grab the front one here. So what they've done is they've taken this nice wood core and then added this partial metal laminate. The Shape TI is really the story here. Similar to what we've seen in Sheeva and Dynastar, I'd say kind of a mix of the two. So we are dealing with a full metal sheet underfoot, and then it kind of splits into 2 different areas with a I don't know, a ravine in the middle, in the forebody, and again through the tail. So also similar to what we'll see in the K2, as you said, Y. And then there's a little break in the middle at the mount point, and that's allowing for the ski to flex more naturally throughout. But the metal on the sides means that they want more precision to the edges. And then having that slit in the middle and metal free in the tips and tails means that they're looking for more soft snow versatility and kind of a playful punch to the ski. A little bit more of the directional shape in this Ranger. As they get wider, then we see more rocker in the tail and in the tip. So as this is the 90 and the narrowest of the line, we're seeing more of that directional shape. But really cool new skis from Fischer, kind of blending the best of what they had from the TI and the FR series skis into this. So they're simplifying their line, and we'll see that from Rossignol with Rallybird as well. But great choice for that advanced skier, don't you think?
I do. I think, Fischer did the same thing that some of these brands we've talked about are doing, and they're just kind of finding that middle ground for that skier that's at the resort. They really are well known in the free ride world, but now they're really pushing the limits for the inbound skier. I find this to be one of the more aggressive skis up here, actually, and I was pleasantly surprised by getting on it, and I can back that up again. It really felt like a bit of a race ski. Yep. It is definitely stiff underneath, but the benefits of the stiffness are also benefit from the softness of the tip, so that you still have that approachability and that turn initiation when you're on it. But it is definitely going to be geared towards more of an expert skier.
Yeah, a lot of these skis try to blend attributes like that. Where we saw that with Sheeva, they're blending the metal and the grip underfoot with the playful tips and tails. And this is just another successful application of that. So interesting stuff from Fischer. They did away with the carbon tips. It's just a more straight sidewall, just a little bit more well-rounded and predictable ski than the outgoing TI and FR series. But great job by Fischer coming up with something new, and like those other ones are super popular. So it was like a pretty bold move for them to kind of come in and make a whole new series of skis. But, I think they did a good job, especially by kind of blending those lines together.
I think with Fischer's popularity that these won't go underrated this year. I think people were looking for the bridge between these two skis, and so there's some good excitement about the ski coming out.
Yep. We get a little bit of an update in this Headcore 91 here. I think that one of the things that people didn't like about these, one was that they were a little bit chattery, and two is that the top sheets weren't very durable, and that's because they never really had a top sheet. So there would be some chipping, and I'm sure you heard about it in customer service, but they really seem to have fixed that problem with this new top sheet material. Both problems, actually. We found that this is not only a quieter and more stable ski because of it, but also is more durable and resistant to chips and peeling. But these are awesome. Really interesting blend of lightweight and stiff flex. They use a Karuba wood core for lightweight, 2 sheets of carbon. That upper sheet is curved to match the curve of the edge. Anytime you're putting carbon in a 3-dimensional format like we see with the carbon tubes in the Elan, you're stiffening that material and really making this thing one of the stiffer skis on the wall while keeping the weight down. So really interesting blend of attributes with this one. Just about 1,500 grams, so right at the light end of the spectrum. What do you think about these cores?
I was definitely very excited that they got rid of the chatteringness that was in the previous versions, and I think that made it more approachable because that chatter, it made people nervous. If you're on a ski that's kind of giving you that feel, you're not as confident. So they've taken that and added the confidence right back into the ski. I think it's an excellent option for someone that's really just looking to carve and connect their turns. They're mainly staying on trail, but they want to reduce that weight under their legs. They're not wanting to be fatigued throughout the day, but they want that stability. And definitely someone that's maybe used to a more stiffer ski, something that maybe had metal, but they want to get rid of the weight. This is a great option. I think it's another one of those skis that people should get out there and try, because it is different than anything else on the wall. And they've really pushed the envelope there with the Core series.
Yeah, I kind of agree with you in the try before you buy with the Core series skis. It's not for everyone. I will say that I am a huge Core fan. I really like these. We kind of found over the last year that they have really kind of two sweet spots. One is that less aggressive skier that is happy making the shallower edge angle turns. They want quickness and maneuverability, but also precision. You're not going to get that combination from really many other skis on the wall. And then the other skier is a larger, more aggressive skier that actually has the strength and power to make this thing bend. So whether you have the skills or not, if you have the power, you can get this thing to bend. And when you do, you get a tremendous amount of responsiveness and precision. So it's just kind of an interesting kind of blend of sweet spots for skiers that we've decided on this past year.
And I think it's one of those skis that you have to really make sure you're looking at the size appropriately. I would definitely not go oversized just because of the stiffness. If you are a lighter weight skier and not as aggressive, to find that sweet spot, you're going to want that shorter length so you can be nimble and quick on your feet, and that's what the head core is going to do for you.
Yeah, you do not have to size up to get stiffness with this ski, that's for sure. A little bit of a new one here. Kind of a refresh on an older model. This is the K2 Mindbender 89 Ti W. Quite a mouthful, but they kind of went away from the Alliance name for all of their women's skis. Kept a lot of the same kind of attributes with this, but changed a few things. Their Titanal Y-beam, which they have used in the past, they've brought it down. I think that kind of similar to what we heard complaint-wise with the Core, we had a lot with this that the tips were a little bit grabby, and I think that by bringing that metal down, they've kind of made that go away. So really a smoother entry to the turn. They also increased the length of the rocker, so it's just kind of a smoother way to initiation phase. So they've made this Y-beam a little bit more sophisticated, wider up front, a little bit more of an opening here, still full width underfoot. And then the best way I can describe it is kind of a bulbous hexagon in the back here, kind of spreading that metal out, still not to the edges, but closer to. So they've really just kind of sophisticated it, kind of like what we see with Kenja on the end and their tailored Titanal frame. They've kind of done a tailored Y-beam, I think. And then they also added a full sidewall. This used to be kind of a half cap construction, and now it's a full sidewall. That's giving you great edge grip and control on firmer snow. And then that rocker profile changed too. So a little bit longer in the tip here, makes it a little less catchy. And then the tail rocker is the bigger difference. The old one used to go kind of straight to the end and then a little bit of a jut out, but this is a much smoother tail rocker. So really great upgrades from K2 on this Mindbender 89, and I think that a lot of people are going to like this thing this year.
What I love about K2 and the Mindbender series is that there is a Mindbender for everyone in the family. Yeah. Literally everyone in the family. There's a different Mindbender that will work for you. And they've just new and improved it this year and made it, this version, a little bit more approachable for that more higher, more aggressive skier. But that don't deter you from trying it because they've reduced the tip. It's not going to be as hooky as some of the more aggressive skis on this wall. And again, they've reduced that weight in the tail to allow you to swing it. But if you do like that control from start to finish in your turn, the Mindbender is going to get you there on that hill.
Yeah.
Also beautiful top sheet. Love the gold.
I think K2 is one of the most controversial graphics skis that we see.
It is, and this is one of the more normal ones.
Yeah, we get a lot of love and hate for sure on this one.
And that's, I think they made this one because they're trying to hit this market of clientele. They've made this a little less vibrant and in your face. They've made it a little bit more approachable in their graphics, and they did the same thing with the construction.
Yep, no, I agree, and I think they're all just nice little changes. Again, like the Kenja, these are like just little sophisticated upgrades that really kind of add to the overall experience, but really nice fun skis.
And I am really surprised like how thin the ski really does teeter out at the top of this. Even with the metal going to up here, it's still relatively thin, keeping that weight down. So they taper that metal so that it isn't overpowering in those tips, so that you can get on edge quicker and not catch your edges.
Yeah, and interesting, this metal laminate is like the exact opposite of what we see from Dynastar. So that E-Pro has the central spine up in the middle and then wide in the back, and this is the exact opposite. So we always find it interesting how ski companies go about making skis achieve the same thing but in very different ways. And I think the K2 and the Dynastar shows that better than most.
Yeah, the Dynastar I think has a little bit more play in the tips that's going to allow you to go over that crud a little bit easier. And as I said, the Dynastar is something you've never skied before, so if you get a chance, get on it. Where the Mindbender is just rounding out something that we are used to, but just improving it and getting that ease of turn into the initiation of your turn is going to help you improve your skiing. Yeah,
and I think we could say that same thing in terms of initiation with this next ski. This is the Liberty Evolv 90W. I'll trade with you here. Like Armada, we're seeing a free ride based company make a more frontside oriented ski, and quite successfully, I might add. We're seeing very minimal rocker, low splay, and then very minimal taper as well. So the widest part of the ski is very much up at the top. And we see that same thing echoed in the tail, where there's really just a squared off tail, little tiny rocker to help you exit, but not a whole lot. When we contrast it to their Genesis, it's definitely a very different animal overall. VMT 3.0 core for this ladies ski here. So it's a blend of bamboo and paulownia, lightweight wood core, with 3 vertical metal strips running through the middle. So they're using metal in a vertically laminated way as opposed to horizontally. Really does an interesting thing at keeping the ski smooth and balanced. One of the main ideas is that it prevents the counterflexing kind of on the end of the turn, so that you're getting that smooth edge-to-edge contact throughout. So really successful and interesting way of building a ski. Pretty much different than anything else on this wall, but one of the smoothest and quietest options up here for sure, and just a whole lot of fun for a frontside skier. I would say it is not the best option for off-trail experiences, but that's what the Genesis is for.
Yeah, this is definitely geared towards the lady that's looking to stay on trail and mainly groomed trails, that likes to carve a turn and go back to the quietness of the ski. It's, we talk about the sound of skis, and it's hard because you're out there and the snow is making its own sound. But it's a very unique sound that comes from Liberty, and it is due to the construction of their woods and the dampening that it does. And it really takes the vibrations out of the snow. And the Genesis doesn't have the metal that this does, and all it does, the metal does in this ski is just make it a little bit more stable and more geared towards that trail skier. I'd say it's a little bit broader reach of ability levels than some of the more aggressive skis on the wall. I think a high intermediate would have some fun on here as long as they're sticking to the trails. It's a great way to improve your linking of your turns. Again, I think it's a ski that be careful not to oversize because of how long that effective edge is. It's going to give you that speed even if you don't want it because of that long effective edge. So make sure you size appropriately. Even, people always think they want the bigger size. I wouldn't say that because this is going to get you that edge. And if you want to be quick to edge and be a little bit more like a slalom turn and make as many turns as possible going down the hill, this would be a great option because it's going to be super nimble under your feet.
Yeah, and like we talked about before, that core thickness profile, that adds to the dampness. So when they're not using horizontal metal laminates to dampen the ski, they're just using extra wood. And we see that with Liberty as well as with Scott when we get there, that they're just using a very thick profile overall. So you don't need metal to dampen the ski, but you do need something. And in these cases, it's just that thicker core profile overall. So with lighter wood like bamboo and paulownia, you can go out that way. So pretty interesting stuff.
And fun graphics always from Liberty. They're always pushing the boundaries with their graphics on their skis, and I think that was kind of fun.
I think this is the best looking ski on the wall.
I do too.
This Genesis 90, and I could say the same thing for the 96 as well. And we can just keep this up here for a second because it's quite a contrast in that tip shape. So a little bit squared off, more blocky, and then this thing is just super round. And then we see the same thing in the tail. If you want to hold that for me just a sec. So square versus round. And that's going to echo in the playfulness and the overall character of the ski. You know, you can really see where the widest part of this one is versus the widest part of this one way down here. So that's the taper, really giving this thing a more smooth and floaty performance in soft snow, while this thing is going to want to hook up and stay engaged in the turns on groomers. So really interesting stuff and how their Liberty is making kind of the split between their free ride and their front side skis. Again, we're seeing that thick core profile, more rocker in this Genesis, both tip and tail. Really just smooth, round. Everything about this ski is round, and that's going to come through in the performance as well. We talked about like shallow edge angles with the head. You can certainly do that here, better off in soft snow. Really just going to be playful and smeary all throughout. This has one vertical strip of metal, while that has 3. So definitely a difference in both construction and shaping. Always interesting to see a company make 2 90mm underfoot skis and how different they can be.
This ski is a much more playful and fun, approachable ski for someone that really does spend 50% of the time playing around on the mountain and not just hitting up the groomed terrain. Someone that it's actually even a little bit more approachable than the Evolv just because of that less metal. It's a little bit more rounded in its approach to skiing. So someone that isn't an ex-racer who really does like to play and have that forgiveness in the tails and pop wherever, I mean, literally take it wherever you want in the woods, in the mountain, and you're going to have a blast on these. 90 under waist, even on a small powder day, you're going to get that flotation. It's super light and nimble. In tight trees, it's one of the best playful options on this wall.
Yeah, and I would say, you mentioned the trees, I would say one of the best tree skis on this wall as well.
Agreed.
Just really easy to kind of make those subsequent turns when you need to, nice and quick, nice and agile, and just a ton of fun. And like I said, I think this gets my vote for sharpest looking.
It's definitely one of my favorite graphics that they've had in a couple years too.
No, it's a lot of fun. Kind of continuing with that lighter and playful aspect, this is the Line Pandora 94. Pretty simple in terms of construction. It's got an aspen wood core and then carbon stringers that run vertically. They definitely do a good job of keeping this thing light, 1,420 grams. So I would say that the 50-50 touring aspect is certainly in play on this one, similar to what we see in the Atomic and the Head, even the Elan, moving on, and the Blaze. But definitely one of the lighter and more agile 94s. And as we're getting into the widest skis in this range, combining that with the lightweight, wider shovel, I would say this is probably one of the best pure floaters on this wall. So if you're looking for a ski in this range that flexes and bends and contours and goes where you want it to go, I think this is a great option.
As a rule of thumb, as you get wider in your skis, they generally get a little bit more aggressive just in nature because they're a little bit wider. Your stance has to change a little bit. But I find that the Pandora, takes away that norm of that 94 width and really makes an approachable wider ski. It's something that you can get on and feel comfortable on. It's going to be lightweight, but it's also going to perform where you want. But it's going to be fun in the woods. It's going to be fun in the bumps. It's going to be fun on the trails. It's kind of that ski that just about anybody could get on and take you where you want to go, and you're going to get the performance out of it. I really think the price point is one of the best selling points about the Pandora. It's something that's not going to break the bank, but it also still has the technology. Even though it's a simple construction, it does what you need out there. Yeah, no, it's awesome. And having that carbon in there really makes a difference as well. We've talked about some of these more carbon powered skis, and they're really blending that lightweight aspen with that carbon. It doesn't feel that stiff, but it's really energetic. I mean, these things have
a lot of good pop to them for sure.
And I do like the tip, you know, you can almost see in the construction kind of where it gets thinner on the tip.
Yep.
They've got a lot more tip in these that is going to allow you to glide over that crud, where some of, like the Genesis has a little bit higher of a tip and a longer edge. This is going to have a shorter edge that just makes it even more approachable and more flexible into that turn.
Yeah, and I think that this ski has a huge range of skiers, you know, like from an entering beginner or entering intermediate all the way through someone that's just looking for something lighter and floatier, who might be more advanced or expert. They're going to love this thing.
And you don't see any skis that look like this out there, so
No.
be different, get a Pandora.
Yeah, and these crazy graphics go through that new Pandora line. So whatever width you choose, they are certainly colorful and eye-popping.
They were definitely a conversation starter.
Yeah.
The day that I tested this, I got more comments than I've ever gotten getting on the list. What are you on? What is that? Because it pops.
I remember that vividly. Yep. Now back to kind of a more staple ski. This is a Nordica Santa Ana 88. Great option for that advanced skier who's looking for something with a kind of a burlier wood core. They have a terrain-specific sheet of metal in it, so throughout the Santa Ana line, as the skis get wider, that metal takes up less space on the ski. As the narrowest of these more Santa Ana freeride-oriented skis, the metal takes up more space, so you're getting more metal per ski with this Santa Ana. Just a great blend of freeride shape, kind of that carving mentality, high-performance ski. You are going to pay for it a little bit with weight, but I think that having that, just that one sheet of metal in there keeps it more approachable than some of the other skis. So just about 1,700 grams, you know, so almost a 300-gram jump from the Pandora, which is interesting.
And a little bit narrower.
And a little bit narrower. So we're seeing a lot more kind of packed into one spot, but I know you've loved these Santa Ana skis for a while.
I have, and when they made the change with the terrain-specific metal, they made this even more approachable. You know, as I get older in years, my legs are getting more tired. I like something that's a little lighter. And as I said, I was very partial to having metal in my skis. So my first loves were Santa Anas and Kenjas. And as I've grown and adapted and learned more, I have changed my mindset that I need metal in a ski, but this is my tried and true confident ski. You know, it really, I love Nordica's tip shape. There's not a lot of brands that take this metal ski, and that's something that can be aggressive and stable at speeds, but have this shovel nose that really is from a free ride and derived construction. And that's so unique out here. And we're actually seeing it more and more with a lot of the brands, but Nordica's been doing it for years. And all they're doing is improving what they've done well and just making the materials less and making them better.
Yeah.
So, you know, feel confident on the ski. Again, the 88 is a sweet spot for most resort skiers. It's going to get you everywhere on the mountain. You know, it's got a little stiffer tail than some of the skis out here, but I still find with a shovel nose that you can pop in the woods and still have that flexibility in tight trees.
Yeah, and this is another model that we could have included the 93 very easily. Same construction, just 5 millimeters wider. So, you know, 88 or 93 depends on where you're skiing most. So mostly groomers, 88, a little bit more adventurous, 93. It's really, you know, in that 93, not a whole lot of love lost in the carving department.
No.
So really awesome choice. Next up, we got a Rossignol Blackops 92. Pretty cool, fun new ski from Rossi for this year. I don't think many of us saw this one coming. I think that when they're taking an existing model, kind of like that Black Ops 98, and making it smaller, they're doing it a disservice, but really they've just created a totally new thing. The big deal with this one is that it's got a really broad range of lengths. So I think it starts at 136 and then up to this 166 on every 10. So 36, 46, 56, 66. If you're looking for a ski longer than 166, this is kind of off the table, but for most skiers, really hitting that tweener, that smaller skier, this is a great choice. They've kind of blended a lightweight Polonia wood core with a fun-loving shape and a lot of camber, And, you know, everyone that got on this year from our staff and from our ski test was kind of, you know, the expectations were low, but the satisfaction was high. One of the things we noticed, we're like, how can a simple Polonia wood ski be this stiff? I mean, it's rivaling the core in terms of that flexing stiffness. So it's really got some pop and energy to it. So you're going to get a lot of rebound out of this ski, not just from that stiffness, but also this high camber underfoot. So having that energy built into the ski, when you put your energy into it, you're going to get that snap back out. So a really interesting way of blending that lightweight and that camber as well as kind of that playful tail shape. So not quite as dramatic as what we saw from Captis or what's the other one? Liberty here, but you know, enough in its own right to warrant playful skiing, but really excellent energy out of this thing.
Yeah, just to back that up, after skiing this, I felt the energy coming out of the ski, and it almost made you enthusiastic to ski it. And like, you know, we went in with no conceptions of what the ski was going to do because it was new in the lineup, and a lot of times we just think we know what it's going to be like, and this was just super energetic, nimble. You know, it's along the lines of the playful of the Genesis, but it's a little bit stiffer and going to give you a little bit more edge control. But with the camber and the tip and tail rise, you're going to get that fun initiation in and out of the turn, but they get that stability under the foot. So someone that's progressing and learning to ski and getting better and better, this would be a great option. Again, maybe even a preteen, teenager that's looking to get a little bit in the park in the woods and hit those side shoots that we know all the kids love. But also a mom that just wants something that is super fun and beautiful. A great price point, comes with system bindings. We don't talk a lot about skis with the system bindings, but it's a good price point for someone that's, you know, chasing their kids around the mountain as well.
Yeah, and with the plate on here, it's at like 1,690 grams. We've measured these at about 200 grams, so it's definitely one of the lighter skis on the wall without the plate. So super energetic, really playful, and an awesome option, you know, for that lady that, like you said, huge range, tweeners to moms that want to follow those tweeners. Like, you could definitely have like a mother-daughter combo on this. It would be fun. For sure. Much different lengths, but it would work. And kind of a nice contrast in the Rossignol world to the next ski, which is a Rallybird 92. They've condensed the Rallybird line. You know, it definitely has more cohesiveness now with the 92 and then 102, 104. But as kind of the narrowest in this Rallybird line, this is the most front-side oriented. Similar to here, we're pretty much just seeing a Polonia wood core, so lightweight. We got the air tip in here, and we have damp tech, so there's a little bit more technology, but still that same lightweight wood core. So we're seeing, you know, kind of on the lighter end of the spectrum here, 1,530 grams, but a very stout and stable ski from you know, a performance perspective.
I like to compare these to the Santa Anas because, you know, without the metal in them, I actually find them to be very similar skis. The Santa Ana is a little bit more aggressive just because of the metal, but the tip shape does is very similar. I actually think the tip is actually a little bit lower with the effective edge, even bigger shovel with the Rallybird, so that's going to give you that confidence in those cruddy days that you're going over everything. But then what follows behind that is it continues that confidence in your turn. It's got definitely a stiffer tail than the Santa Ana, I believe, so that turn, like completing your turn, you're gonna really feel it throughout the turn. It's definitely not as playful as the other Rossi ski that we have up here, so this is definitely geared more towards a resort on-piste skier, but that doesn't mean you can't hit up the bumps and the trees with the ski. That shovel is gonna really, you know, guide you through that mixed terrain.
Yeah. Light, agile, energetic, and yet surprisingly stable. I think that this one really is a well-rounded ski. We do see that nice positive camber underfoot like we saw in that Blackops, and then that more directional tail. So low rocker, minimal splay, pretty, you know, pretty squared off tail though. So you are going to get excellent grip and energy to the end, and then floaty tip. You know, like I would say that this is probably more similar to Santa Ana 93 in terms of, you know, what you're going to do with it.
Yeah.
This is obviously going to be a better carver due to the metal and the narrower shape, but bump that up to 93, and I think that you're kind of competing more with this Rallybird.
Yeah, and for the ladies out there that are, you know, afraid of the metal and don't want that metal, this is an excellent option because it's still going to give you all the performance from a metal ski, but it's going to have that energy and that nimbleness that you get from taking that material out.
Yeah, like between you and Emily, like definitely seen some high performance skiing on this thing. Like there's not a ceiling that is easily
like the Ripstick,
attainable.
there's not a ceiling.
Right, which is great.
Whatever energy you put into the ski is going to give back to you. So if you don't have as much energy, don't worry, you can still ski it.
Yeah. This is about as well rounded as they get. What do you think?
Yeah, this one I had the benefit of skiing this last year, and you know, Salomon hasn't changed too much in the past couple of years because they kind of figured out this sweet spot in this lineup where they found an approachable ski for a wide range of ladies, and it's due to their technology and the lightness, and it just is a great all mountain resort ski.
Yeah, we talk about the QST 92 and how if after watching all of this and shopping for a month, you still don't know what to get this. You know, it's just that well-rounded and has that amount of range. Great blend of rocker in this one and camber, very kind of bowed out. We do see that nice camber underfoot, but nice long tail rocker here, really good for soft snow, and then matching kind of shaping in the front as well. You know, poplar wood core with their carbon and flax material in here. Just a great overall choice for skiers that like to do everything. I can find no weaknesses with this thing.
No, I think they kept a very traditional design, which reads really well for people that are overwhelmed by all these options. I mean, we're literally doing an hour-plus video on all your options, and I'm sure some of you are going to be more confused.
Right.
But this is a ski that is tried and true. They've kept the shape that we're used to seeing, and that's because we know that it works, and they've just made it light enough that it has that energy and that feel that ladies can get on it and have confidence. And that tail shape, you know, once you get to that 92, you want a little bit of that tail rise in order to be able to have play when there's a couple of inches snow down on the ground.
Yeah, super confidence inspiring. Short radius too. In the 160, it's a 13-meter turn radius, so it's definitely on the shorter side of the spectrum. Just really easy to get from edge to edge and super versatile. I mean,
and I actually ended up sizing up when I tried the ski, and I regretted it because, you know, I originally thought with that short radius that I would want to go up a size, but this is such a nimble ski that it wants to turn. So if you're someone that likes to make turns, try this. This is awesome.
Yeah, another great tree and soft snow option for sure too. And then like Liberty, it's interesting to see Salomon have these two skis in this range, Blizzard as well, where one of them is very much free ride focused, and then the next is more on trail and front side. So this is the Stance W88. Great option for skiers that are looking for this higher powered 88 millimeter underfoot ski. Kenja as well, I would put right up there with it. Armada, you know, a little bit wider, but still that same type of construction where they're dealing with a metal laminate here. So poplar wood core, to go along with Karuba, so they put in a lighter weight wood in here to make it a little bit more approachable, but still have the poplar, and then that metal laminate, which is open in a window format here. So they include their CFX material that we see in QST in these windows in the tips and tails. Really adds a good amount of energy. So they're blending that energy of the carbon and flax with the dampness and stability and grip of the metal. And you end up with a really, really awesome front side / all mountain ski, you know, with a good amount of tail tip splay, but not a ton of rocker. And then I would call it a little bit more rocker in the tail, but really just makes for a smooth feeling overall. And then a ton of that camber underfoot. So really energetic.
This is a carver's dream, an aggressive carver's dream. You know, it's got that a little bit more aggressive construction to it. Again, Salomon keeps that traditional shape that we know and love for years and years. And it's really that camber that you when you're flexing that camber onto the snow, you're getting that energy and feel right back, and it's going to just give you the confidence to tackle that icy terrain or even just that carving, nicely groomed terrain. Not as much fun if you're going to pop into the woods and play around with your children in the park. It's definitely going to be stiffer, but that doesn't mean it can't do it all as well.
Yeah, and it ends up being pretty light, you know, like with that Karuba wood core and with the metal in here, it's not terribly heavy. So this is the 161, and we're at just under 1,600 grams. So for a ski with metal and the performance that it has, it's pretty impressive to see them keep that weight down. I think that Karuba wood has a lot to do with it.
And I think that wood also is what adds that energy that you don't always see in all the other brands. You know, the wood types that these brands are using, they're all using different ones and different blends, and they all do a little bit different for that pop and that feel that you'll feel under your feet.
Yeah, and then that thickness that we keep talking about is like this whole other, you know, conversation that we're starting to have. This one also comes Stance W94, so another kind of ski that has that wider option, same build, just that wider shape. So again, if you're interested in this ski but want something a little bit wider, they make that thing too, and it's great. You know, just a little bit more material underfoot, better flotation, but still that same power and stability. And then this is another one of our core thickness style skis. Full poplar wood core on this Scott Pure Free 90W. We got on these for the first time this year, and just another just kind of level of overall satisfaction was heard from all of our testers. You know, not a whole lot of expectations. It was a new ski for a lot of us, and the results were overwhelmingly positive. And I think that core thickness and just the overall kind of burlier nature of this ski have a lot to do with it. It's 780 something grams, so it's one of the heavier skis on the wall. The only metal is found in this kind of plate underfoot, so it's not even full width metal. It's just more, it's like partial binding retention, and then the other part is just that vibration damping properties. So that combined with the thickness of the sidewalls really make this thing smooth and stable and strong. Little bit of tail splay here too. You know, we were kind of expecting it to be flatter, but it's definitely got kind of that jut that I was talking about with the Mindbender, how that used to be. Just not very smooth or long, just kind of at the end, just pops right out. That just makes the very end of the turn a little bit easier to release while keeping that effective edge nice and long. But great new skis from Scott, really well built. You know, it's a sturdy ski for sure.
What's great about this ski is that you can see that it's got a lot of the aspects of the other skis we've already discussed, and they're just combining them in a little bit of a different way. They've got that nice shovel nose, a little less of that long shovel, effective shovel that we see in the Santa Ana and the Rallybird. So it's still going to give you that flotation over the crud and that powder, and if you are skiing in powder, it's going to give you that flotation you need. But because it is a little denser and thicker, it's going to be a little bit more aggressive than the Rallybird, and it kind of falls, actually, I feel like it may fall between the Rallybird and the Santa Ana in performance, and like that tail is definitely very unique, but it's just, again, going to help you release at that end of that turn because you do have that long edge.
We found all of these Scott skis to be very intuitive. You know, you get on it and you go and you don't think about it. It's very easy to ski, and it just kind of does what you want it to do. And that was a consistent piece of, you know, complimentary feedback that we got in the ski test, was that these were very much, you didn't have to think about them. Very intuitive, super confident, tip to tail, you know, very consistent skis. So great new option here for us at Ski Essentials, you know, having these inline Scotts.
And you can purchase them without, you know, worrying about if they're going to be so different. You know, some of these skis up here we do recommend trying before purchasing or knowing kind of more about the construction, just to be aware that they are very drastically different, where this one is just a more approachable, easy buy. You can get on it and you're going to, you know, have from the first turn to the last turn. Have fun.
Even if you haven't heard of it, you know, I would buy that sight unseen, full confidence. So pretty cool stuff. This one too, you know, you're paying for it, but it's definitely one of the smoothest and best and strongest and most stable, and really just a great overall product from Stockli. This is the Nela 88. They're like Rossignol, mixing a Paulownia wood core in here. So light to start, but then they're adding 2 sheets of metal, the top one being the second sheet. We talk about this as being effective because it's harnessing each and every bit of your movement. So from your boot to your binding to your ski, it doesn't have to go through a different top sheet. It just goes to the ski. We talked about the sound of the skis. This is just a very solid product. A little bit stiffer than you might think, you know, especially given the lighter weight. You know, kind of what we talked about with the stance of having it be a strong ski with metal, yet not weighing a whole lot. Still under 17, right about 1,700 grams in the 168. So just an awesome overall ski, certainly more on the directional side. We don't see a whole lot of taper or rocker in the tail. Long effective edge combined with the construction makes this, I would say, one of the smoothest skis on the wall. A little bit of camber under there and a nice kind of free ride oriented shovel. So just a great blend of everything in this thing, huh?
I mean, I think it's a carver's dream ski, and I hope that everyone that really enthusiastically likes to carve gets a chance to try these. You know, at the price point, the construction that goes into it is definitely, you know, top notch. Yeah. But that doesn't take away from other skis on this wall.
Right.
It definitely has that high performance, stable strength under your legs. You're going to feel that energy from the wood that comes out of it. I haven't heard a single person that hasn't liked a Stockli. They definitely get on them and they have fun. And I think it is the confidence in the name of Stockli that gives them the confidence the moment they click in. But I also think the ski, you know, the construction and then the company doesn't disappoint you with what they've done with the ski.
Yeah, it's not myth.
No.
You know, the success of this is very much based in reality. And I also think it's impressive that like Armada, I keep coming back to that one as being an excellent kind of competitor to this in terms of its overall feel and silence and precision. So, you know, a lot of people are looking for something like a Stockli and they don't want to spend that money. I kind of point them to the Armada as having similar qualities and personality characteristics, you know, at a lower price point. So, and
most people that have looked at Stockli would never even think about an Armada, but that's what's great about the Armada. It's a really undiscovered tool for people out there, and they've, you know, pushed the limits with the construction to kind of rival with skis like Stockli, and really be an aggressive frontside carving ski.
Yeah, and you know, I've kind of softened my stance on it being like unapproachably expensive. And just kind of said like, well,
everything's kind of coming up to it.
Yeah, everything's coming up to it. And I've also kind of said like, well, that's like 2 dinners out. Like the difference between an Armada and a Stockli. You just don't go out to dinner twice and then you can have the ski that you want. So it's not like a huge sacrifice or a huge difference. There are some skis, you know, like, yeah, it's almost 3 times as much as that. But
these are handmade, which is a really unique thing from skis these days. You know, most of the skis we're talking about up here are, you know, manufactured in pretty big warehouses, where this is a much smaller production, which makes it even more boutique-y and unique.
Yeah, and the quality and precision definitely shines through on the snow, which is really, really important.
So if you can't afford one, try and rent one for a day and get out there and try it. It's definitely a fun experience.
Yeah, no, it certainly is. Finishing off, we got a couple of Volkls here on this side of the wall. This is the Blaze 94W. I think this is going to be the lightest ski up here. Definitely had, when they came up with these skis, the idea was having it be that touring freeride backcountry ski, 1465. So yeah, pretty much right there with the lightest on the wall. I think that these were a little bit ahead of their time. You know, we've seen Blizzard catch up with Hustle and Nordica with Enforcer and Santa Ana Unlimited in terms of being that 50-50 uphill, downhill, resort, out of bounds type of ski. Most people, I think, will kind of lean towards the resort side of it as having this be a lighter weight option. the reality of uphill skiing, I think, the romantic view of it is a little bit different than the reality ends up being. But that doesn't take anything away from this as a solid all-mountain resort ski. The weight, it's one of the widest skis up here at 94 underfoot. And then this rocker profile is just crazy. So with the idea being that when you go backcountry skiing, you're going to be in fresh snow, Volkl really made that happen in the profile. So when you decamber the middle of the ski, the rocker starts all the way down here. So super, super low, very gradual to the end rocker in the shovel. And then decambered in the middle, that tail rocker starts back here. So per percentage of the surface area, this is the most rockered ski on the wall with minimal camber underfoot. What that's going to do, kind of like we talked about with the shallow edge angles, is make the flat ski work really, really well. Awesome in the trees, great in the bumps. It's still got the stiffness to give you some good positive feedback. It does have a metal plate underfoot, functional as well as retention. It is edge to edge. It's more metal even than what we see in the Scott underfoot. So it does have that nice damp stability underfoot, but just kind of the otherworldly rocker profile that make this thing just a great floater. Super fun ski.
I think when this came out, they really thought that it was going to be that backcountry ski, but you can't corner this ski in that at all. I actually see more women skiing this at the resort than I see in the backcountry, and I think that is an attest to the design of the ski. A lot of skiers out there liking that more rocker on the tips just because of the crud that you get at the end of the day. If you're skiing all day out there, at the end of the day you're dealing with obstacles in the trails, and this ski just like smoothly goes over it. The energy that you get out of it, you're gonna feel throughout the day. It's gonna really like help you keep your energy. And then that stiffness, it still has a stiffness. I find it more playful than what we're gonna talk about next, which is the Kenja. So those ladies out there that were finding the Kenja unapproachable, Santa Ana unapproachable, this is an approachable ski that's super lightweight, but it's still gonna perform and have fun and be wiggly in the woods. I think it's another great option for chasing your kids around the hill or your husband. Whatever type of skiing you're doing, this is gonna be able to do it. So if you're a 50-50 woods and trail skier or 50-50 uphill, downhill, this is the option for you, and it's not gonna disappoint.
Yeah, like this Pandora, they're similar in terms of waist width. This has that wider shovel, whereas this has the longer rocker. So both great floaters, super quick, super light. I think this is, a pretty fair comparison if you're between two of the wider skis. These are definitely very similar in terms of application and overall feel. A little bit more of a softer flex with the line. And then just kind of more agility with this, mostly due to that crazy rocker profile. But really, really fun skis. And, not out of the question to have a two-ski quiver of Kenja and Blaze 94. I mean, where this is your lightweight uphill soft snow option. Like you were saying, Al, the Kenja is certainly that front side powerful carver. And, some great upgrades for this year, too.
Yeah, this is my tried and true. Before I worked in the ski industry, I was a Kenja lover, and I still am. I've branched out, but they just keep improving the construction of this to make it more approachable to, not as wide a range as some of the skis you talk about, but it's definitely getting to that high intermediate that's looking for that more stable ski for those icier days. As Bob said, you could have the Blaze as your fun 3-inch powder day, or the day that you plan to go to the woods or just have some fun with friends, and then have that for those really cold days that you really want that confidence in your turns. You're going to get the edge grip. You're going to get that camber underfoot that definitely gets you that flexibility on edge, and is a dream to ski.
Yeah. They made the changes to this that they made to the Secret 96 last year. So we get tailored carbon tips, tailored Titanal frame. They mixed up this central portion of the frame here. So they gave it more distance between the front part of the frame, the middle part, and the back part. These gaps are just bigger. and that allows for more flex in the ski. I found these new updates to make this thing just more energetic and lively. You know, I think that when we are calling a ski more approachable, that could kind of turn off the more advanced and expert and aggressive skiers. I don't think there's really any performance lost in this.
No, not at all. I think every time they improve the Kenja and the Secret, all they've done is improve the materials and improve the performance for high-end skiers. They might make it slightly more approachable for that, you know, high, intermediate, but really we're talking advanced expert skiers for the Kenja. It is definitely a strong ski, ex-racer's dream ski, but they just, that flex that they've created between here just gives that pop that you need, especially late in the day when you're starting to feel the fatigue in your leg. You're going to feel the energy from the ski that's actually helping you be nimble and make those turns that you want.
Yeah, and even like a bigger difference from the kind of original Kenja, which was a little bit on the plankier side. When they went to Kenja 88, that made it more lively, and then this took it another step. And I got my wife a pair of these, the last year's version, and her first run was like, whoa, this is like, I feel like this is the first time I've ever skied. And I would imagine that she would have similar feelings had she got on this too, but she was very impressed. You know, again, I think that if you're looking to branch off trail, you know, Salomon QST, Elan Ripstick, Sheeva, those are better options than this, which is definitely more of that front side groomer ski, but in that realm, it is certainly superior to most.
Yeah, I think the tip technology that they added to this just adds that energy that we've been talking about, and that vibration dampening, and it just makes it a smooth ride. As you know, his wife was saying, she felt like she was really skiing, and it really is a confidence booster to be on a ski like the Kenja. It isn't driving you as long as you can drive the ski. You're going to feel confident in every turn that you make out there. Yeah,
and there is kind of that performance minimum, though. You know, like you definitely, if you're an intermediate, you want to be a strong skier. Like you want to have some power to you. You know, I think if you're kind of in that range but more timid, this thing will put you back.
Yeah, there's a lot of other options for someone that might be a little bit more timid out there. This is definitely someone that's a little bit more confident, or maybe was confident in the past and they know that they have the ability. You know, I took a long break from skiing, and when I got back on these, it really taught me back how to ski, and it was amazing the confidence I got out of skiing it. But I definitely had a lot more experience under my belt than I wouldn't just throw someone on this ski. There's some really great options out here for every type of skier. We've definitely gone through some options, but high-end race carver lady, this is a great option.
Yeah,
and tried and true.
A lot of people are very, very much still in love with their Kenjas.
Yep, still in love.
After all these years.
Still have my old pair.
Yeah. Well, that's it. That is a whole lot of our 88 to 94 underfoot. I do want to mention the one that we don't have up here. It's a Faction Dancer 1X, lightweight poplar wood core, 2 sheets of metal, very much in the realm of Santa Ana in terms of that energy. You know, great looking ski. It's like a candy cane style ski. It's really, really awesome. They just needed it back, so we didn't have it. But definitely wanted to mention that as that 86 millimeter underfoot, kind of similar to Liberty and Armada in terms of a free ride company making that more front side oriented ski. So definitely wanted to give a shout out to Faction and that Dancer 1X. Just an awesome option. Again, plenty of positive feedback from our test. Really bouncy, really energetic ski. So wanted to give that kind of special attention. But other than that, Allie, thanks so much for joining here. Wonderful to get your perspective and your experience on these skis. Any questions at all, give a shout out. More than happy to answer them. You know, try to get back to you as quickly as possible, or reach out to Allie as well for her answers. But just a great range of skis here in this kind of 88 to 92 millimeter category. It's an awesome place to be.
And if we confused you even further, give us a call. We've got experts on the phone to help you, you know, narrow down those options.
Yep. Well, that's it. Thank you very much for joining us, and we will see you out there on the hill.